Egypt has a population of Coptic Christians, and two bombs exploded at Coptic churches in Alexandria and Tanta, Egypt. The Alexandria explosion was a suicide bombing, according to the Interior Ministry, and the police actually stopped a terrorist with an explosive belt from breaking into the church, and along with civilians and a policeman and a policewoman, a number of those staff and law enforcement individuals were killed. In Tanta, 30 people were killed and at least 70 were injured. In Alexandria, 16 were killed and 35 were injured. Now, ISIS later claimed the attacks through its AMAQ news agency after having warned that it was going to step up attacks on Egypt's Christians. And as usual, it's really hard to independently verify that ISIS was involved at all. We have only what they say through their own news agency. What would the motives be for ISIS to do this? Well, ISIS wants to kill non-Muslims. That's pretty clear at this point. And for people who don't know, Coptic Christians make up about 10% of Egypt's population of 85 million. And of course, they've had issues, but they've actually coexisted with Egypt's majority Muslim population for a very long time, hundreds of years. But they have faced more and more persecution, discrimination since the Mubarak regime fell in 2011. We've seen Coptic churches and homes set on fire, members of the Coptic minority physically attacked, property looted. Amnesty International has been reporting about a lot of this since last March. And this is part of why regime change for secular dictators in the Middle East, North Africa region often just doesn't work, Pat. We see power vacuums with a Sunni majority turn into effectively open season on religious minorities, especially Christians. And, we often get criticized, Pat. We never report when Christians are attacked. That is such BS. We have been reporting on it for a long time. We don't do the thing that we're often accused of strategically ignoring stories. This is a disaster. We have been reporting on it. We'll continue reporting on it. And this is part of a much bigger military buildup that we are seeing involving the Korean Peninsula, as well as what's going on in Syria. This is a bigger picture issue right now.
And unfortunately, when it comes to the corporate media, it's kind of a back page story at this point because of everything else that's going on with Syria, with Stockholm. But 36 people died. And, regardless of where it happens in the world, I know sometimes we get desensitized because, this happened in Africa, this happened in the Middle East. It doesn't seem too far out of place. But the diplomatic response, the humanitarian response, that should all be the same. And that should be reflected in media coverage, too.
And although these are unrelated events, right, the Syria strikes, the buildup around the Korean Peninsula with North Korea, which we'll talk about later in the show, this is all fomenting the drums of war, the feelings of uncertainty and lack of safety, and sort of priming people to be more open to military action. Although, why would these attacks in Egypt make us more open to military action in Syria? Well, it doesn't follow logically, but we know that when these types of stories are in the news more, it makes people more open to military action. And this is why the YouTube ad boycott is especially untimely, because it is hamstringing corporate independent media and moving the money towards corporate media at a time when corporate media is basically beating the drums of, hey, let's do this, let's do that with our military.
And even before the ad boycott, anytime we covered foreign policy and stories like this, these videos would get demonetized anyway. So this was going on for months before the ad boycott.
No doubt about it. And a lot of discussion about Syria, Egypt, Stockholm, which we will also talk about. A big foreign policy day on the show today, actually. The biggest we've ever had, actually. A lot of these discussions happening on our Reddit discussion forum, and I encourage you to go to davidpakman.com/Reddit, sign up and participate in the conversation.